Hey guys, we're going to use this video to create another power outline of section 3 of your social studies book dealing with the Fertile Crescent in Mesopotamia. And so this video is going to talk about Sumerian achievements. Now we're creating a new outline, okay, so you need to go ahead and start a brand new page in your social studies book. Should be right after the grapes chart that you've glued in there from yesterday. And we'll go ahead and get started. So if you look in your book on the pages that are on Haiku, you'll see at the top that the main title of this section is Sumerian Achievement. So we're going to go ahead and start a new outline, and that's going to be our Power 1. That's our main title of our section, and that's going to be what the rest of our outline information is about. I'm going to go ahead and underline mine. Okay. Let's read that short introduction there. Remember, you don't have to write anything about this, but we do need to read over it. It says, if you live there, you're a student at a school for scribes in Sumer. Learning all the symbols for writing is very hard. Your teacher assigns you lessons to write on your clay tablet, but you can't help making mistakes. Then you have to smooth out the surface and try again. Still, being a scribe can lead to important jobs for the king. You could make your family proud. So you can tell already things, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but things in Sumer back in BC times, in Mesopotamia and the Fertile Crescent, around the times of these first civilizations were very different than today. It talks about a tablet here, but probably not quite the same kind of tablet that you're used to, okay? All right, let's go ahead and continue reading. We come to another subheading here that says the invention of writing. We want to add that to our power outline notes, and that is not the same as our main title, so we're going to add that as a power 2. So you can see that I've got here invention of writing, my heading, and that's a power 2. I've not put my 2 directly under my power 1. I've indented so I can set it apart. I did underline it. Again, that's totally up to you, okay? So let's go ahead and start reading. The Sumerians made one of the greatest cultural advances in history. They developed cuneiform, the world's first system of writing. The Sumerians did not have pens, pencils, or paper though. Instead, they used sharp tools called styluses to make wedge-shaped symbols on clay tablets. And I like this picture here because that kind of lets you visualize what it was like. They made tablets out of clay, and they had symbols that they wrote, and they pretty much carved their symbols in these tablets with a wooden stylus, or a wedge-shaped stylus, not necessarily made of wood. And that's how they wrote, and that was called cuneiform. They were the very first people to develop a system of writing. So I'm going to add kind of the main idea of this paragraph here to my power outline notes. And we're not adding another power, we're just adding a point about the invention of writing. So I'm going to put that Sumerians invented the first writing system, cuneiform. I did not spell that right. It's got an N in there, which included clay tablets and styluses. And I want to just keep that right under my other writing here. Okay? That was the main idea of that paragraph. Alright. Let's continue on to the next page. Earlier written communication had used pictographs or picture symbols. Each pictograph represented an object such as a tree or an animal. In cuneiform, symbols could also represent syllables or basic parts of words. As a result, Sumerian writers could combine multiple symbols to express more complex ideas such as joy or powerful. So instead of using pictographs, which people in the past had used, I know we had talked about writings on caves and stuff by the first hunter-gatherer people, but this is a little bit more complex and a little bit more developed. Cuneiform was not quite as simple and basic as pictographs, and they were able to express more words. So let's add that to our outline, and we're going to say that cuneiform was more complex than pictographs used in the past. Okay? Allowed them to express more of their ideas. You can see there's a picture there, and I like this picture. This might be on the next page, but this is a picture of some of the symbols that they used. And so you can see kind of, this is the dates up here at the top. So we're going from much later to kind of an earlier, we're going from earlier, so further back in time to a more recent time period. Still all in BC, but you can kind of see how the symbols developed and got a little bit more complex over the course of the time period. Especially, like, look at the one for bird. This was the earliest symbol for bird. That's a kind of a pictograph there, but then as we go, you can see this more developed symbol for bird, and that just allowed them to have more words in their vocabulary. Alright, let's continue reading. Sumerians first used cuneiform to keep business records. A scribe, or writer, would be hired to keep track of the items people traded. Government officials and temples also hired scribes to keep their records. Becoming a scribe was a way to move up in social class. So definitely the main point of this paragraph here is it's about scribes, right? Oh, my phone is ringing. I'm sure you can hear that. Okay, I think Blake got it. So main idea here again is scribes. And then scribes were writers, and they were hired to keep records for people, such as the government or temples, things like that. So let's go ahead and add that. Whoops. Scribes were writers, were hired to keep records and write things down. So priests had scribes. Not everybody could write, so being a scribe was very important. Okay, going back to our book, we've got a couple more paragraphs here in this little section. Sumerian students went to school to learn to read and write. Like today, though, some students did not want to study. A Sumerian story tells of a father who urged his son to do his schoolwork. In time, Sumerians put their writing skills to new uses. They wrote works on history, law, grammar, and math. They also created works of literature. Sumerians wrote stories, proverbs, and songs. They wrote poems about the gods and about military victories. Some of these were epics, long poems that tell the stories of heroes. Later, people used some of these poems to create the Epic of Gilgamesh, the story of a legendary Sumerian king. So a couple of things in these two paragraphs. First of all, some children went to school to learn how to write, and then Sumerians used writing to write all kinds of different things, like history, law, grammar, math, stories, songs, epics. Okay? So let's go ahead back to our outline, and we're going to add a couple of things here. Some boys and girls went to school to learn to write. And we have Sumerians used writing for all sorts of things. Okay, and let's go ahead and add that word epics here, because since that is highlighted, that probably will be very important. So we're going to go ahead and add that in our outline, just so we'll have it. So I've got Sumerians used writing for all sorts of things, including epics, which were long poems about heroes. Okay?